When I was a kid, I learned how to play the piano. And when you first get a bit of music, you have to learn the right hand and the left hand separately, and then you bring them together. And also the first time you get the sheet music and you play, it's just complete chaos, cacophony. It sounds horrible. And what you get from this, though, is you learn that you'll always start bad, and then it's the practice, it's the consistency, it's in that doing that it gets better and better. And so when people learn the piano as adults, I notice they always get popular sheet music, and they'll want to be playing, Vanessa Carlton. I mean, I know that's old, but like that's a piano prominent song, that 1,000 Miles. And they'll get that and they'll be trying to play that off the bat. And I'm like, you really have to start with the foundation, the building blocks of those kind of repetitive, simple songs. And some of them aren't even songs. Some of them are exercises and then songs and then workbooks. Anyway, you go through the work. Piano is the typical, as anything with mastery, 10,000 hours or more. And the thing about piano is when you learn as a kid, you apply that level of persistence and practice to other things. So for instance, because I was accustomed to, playing the piano and knowing that the first 50 times are going to be working through like in a draft way. And then eventually I'd bring my hands together, eventually I'd be able to play at recitals and adjudication. And it's the same when you get ready for adjudication and recitals, you're playing a piece you've been playing for months, you've been practicing. And that's why they call it, piano practice. And that's why this has helped me with yoga and with writing, which are things I feel like benefited from me having this mentality of the first day I do this will be bad, and then the first year I do this will be, I'm still, it might be flailing and awkward. And so, and in yoga's case, it's always a practice, because it's just, I'm not naturally flexible, and I'm, like, for me, just becoming a normal person's amount of flexibility is progress. I'm only really measuring it against my past self. And with writing, it's a perfect mentality too, that everything you write at first is going to be shit. The shitty first drafts, that guidebook gets into that. And so the mentality of an impatience that, I have to be good at this, or I don't dare try, or, I'm so scared I'm going to hide myself. It really is such a hamper on what can actually be. Like the first time you play that music, that's not going to be representative of how you play it later, because you're just going to keep practicing it. And it's the same with writing. The first drafts, all of them, writing is rewriting, and you just keep honing. I've started writing a book in my early 20s, and it was completely had this, that early 20s voice that had that bravado of trying to be a certain way and trying to be clever, and then also kind of being really defensive. Really, I could see the defensiveness and the self-consciousness when I would reread it throughout the years, because I really kept working on it all throughout my entire 20s and 30s, of course. And so I would see that I would just keep honing, and by now it really is so, it's still like it's so solid compared to the little skeleton it started as. Like now it's just filled in with such structure, it has some muscle, it has long hair, I don't know what it has. Anyway, so the thing I want to emphasize that's really helped me in my life is that mentality of things as a practice, and the doing and putting in those 10,000 hours is just going to naturally get you to a better place. My niece and nephew are skiers, and they have been putting in every weekend, from a very young age, because they're, they've only been probably doing it 5 years, and they're such they've already put in so many hours, because they put in that every weekend, and they're on ski team, and they race, and they're already at a level of mastery so early on. So I can only imagine by high school, it's just going to be in their pocket. And that's how, and of course there's things that you take to more naturally, like there's certain things that you're going to be better at. Like, just like I said, with yoga, even though I put in, 10,000 hours, I only gained mastery in terms of learning persistence, patience, and really kind of mindfulness, because yoga, my flexibility didn't necessarily, it like moves like really minute amounts, but it taught me to have that level of persist, and you get a level of mastery in some element of it. Like, I may not have mastered flexibility, but I have certainly mastered that presence of mind and peace of mind, because it really slows you down, and you're in it's kind of a moving meditation where each thing you do, each motion you do, you're in the present moment watching yourself in the mirror. And so I really believe you've got to have the idea that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to have to be okay with the fact that it's going to be awkward, and it's going to be, I'm going to not be this wonderful, I'm not going to be wonderful at it. But putting in the time to practice and get past that fear and self-consciousness, similar to making these videos, of course, because I'm doing this for 30 days every day this month, and maybe beyond, but I'm trying to get it into this kind of practice and this regimen, and so I can really push past this self-consciousness and fear I have, and get used to doing it, so that I'm not hung up and think I have to have a perfect thing to say. And so I'm even going to talk about, the process in itself, the meta-ness of how practice leads to perfect, or not perfect, but just normalcy. Anyway, so I thought I would just share that, because I noticed too, when they learn like guitar without having learned piano, piano is such a good basis of learning that you're going to struggle through. And a guitar, it's not that same thing where I don't know how to play guitar, but usually people who are good at guitar have had piano as their foundation. They don't just start with guitar. Anyway, I encourage you to think about something that you do, and how it's okay to be bad at it at first, because you're only going to get better, and you've got to go through that learning curve, and we've got to expose ourselves and confront the things that we're resistant to, because if we just keep living in that hidden, resistant, fear-based, it's going to seep into other parts of our life. See, the resilience and the practice of piano then led me to think, well, I'm going to try yoga. The first day is going to be bad. The first year is going to be bad. The first few years might be bad. I'm going to make it a part of my routine. Same with writing. If I thought, I guess this first draft I did was so cringy, better never do it again. You can't think that way, because you can get better at everything. And some things you're going to be naturally more talented and attuned to, and so you should stick with them. But don't live in this idea that you can't, feel free to fail, and you're trying and to push through that fear, I think, is such a valuable thing that'll help you in every aspect of your life, because emotional resiliency is a trait that comes from having that level of endurance and patience. And emotional resiliency is the number one trait that makes that people have realized it leads to a wholehearted, happy life. Is is people who are willing to have that emotional resilience of getting past and not marinating in victimhood, not marinating in pain and spite and bitterness and, oh no, I failed, oh no, I failed. Anyway, so I hope that helps. And this right here, making these videos, is the thing I'm currently pushing through to get past my fear. Okay, thank you.